Alright, chapter 19, the 5 keys of wealth and happiness. May it not be grave with the circumstance of the creators of men, Benjamin Disraeli. You now have the resource of the absolute charge of your life, You have the ability to form an internal representation proof of the state leads to success and power. You have the ability to, isn't always the same as using it, the certain experience of the time and again, put it with the people in an unresourceful state. There are bends in the road, rapids in the river, snaring of the people, the time and again, with experience that will consistently prevent people from being all they can be. In this chapter, I want to give you a map showing where the pearls are and what needs you to know to overcome them. I call these the 5 keys of wealth and happiness. If you're going to use the abilities that have, and if you're going to be able to all you can be, and you're going to have to be understanding these keys. Every person is successful has sooner or later. If you do them and can handle them consistently, your life will be an indomitable success. Not long ago, I was in Boston after a seminar one night. I took a midnight stroll around Copley Square. I was taking in the building, range modern skyscraper structure as old as America, when I noticed the man walking back and forth coming my way. When he looked as though he had been sleeping in the streets for weeks. Smelled of alcohol, looked as if he hadn't shaved for months. I figured he had come up with a beg for money. Well, as you think it is so attractive, he approached and asked, "Mister, could you loan me a quarter?" And first I asked myself if I wanted to reward his behavior. Then I told myself I didn't want him to suffer. Either way, a quarter was not going to make much of a difference, so I figured at least I'd give it a try to teach him a lesson. A quarter, that's what you want, a quarter? And he said, just a quarter. So I reached in my pocket, pulled out a quarter and said, "Life will pay you any price you ask of it." And then the guy looked at his son and then he staggered away. As I watched him go, I thought, what the difference between the who succeed with those who fail. But I thought, well, what's the difference between him and me with my life, with the joy that I don't, that I can do whatever I want, whenever I want, and whenever I want, and whomever I want, so as much as I want. Hereby my 60-year-old living secret and begging for quarters. Did God come down and say, "Robbins, you've been good. You get to live in the dream life"? It's not likely, but did someone give me superior resources or advantages? I don't think so. I was one with the state almost as bad as his, although I didn't drink as much and alcohol, sleep in the street. I think the part of the difference. Yes. I think a part of the difference answer I gave him, that the life will pay with whatever you ask of it, as a quarter that you will get. Testing. Alright, I think part of the difference answer I gave him, with life will pay with whatever you ask. Ask for a quarter, that's what you get. As for son, joy and success, you'll get that too. Everything I study with convinces me that if you learn, manage your states, manage your behaviors, if you can change everything you learn, what ask life, you can be sure to get it. On the following months, I met more street people to ask them about their lives, how they got there, and I began to find out similar challenges with the common difference that we have with the handle. Whatever the kind of the world speak of the like, they'll show the bear, or the Greek proverb. Let me share with you 5 things you with the road time with success. There's nothing profound with it or truth about them, but the absolutely critical to master them. No limit of what you can do with it. If you don't use them, you've already placed your limits of how high you can go. Affirmation, positive thinking, hard start, but not a full answer. Affirmation without discipline, beginning with a delusion. Affirmation with a discipline creates miracles. Here's the first key of the creation, wealth, and happiness. You must learn to handle frustration. If you want to become an all because all you can do with it, all you can hear, all see, all you can see. You've got to learn more to handle frustration. Frustration can kill dreams. That happens all the time. Frustration, dream of the positive, the attitude, the negative one, empowering state of crippling. The worst thing with a negative attitude, but it doesn't wipe out sense of disappointment. When discipline is gone, the result of the desires are gone. Sure, long-term success, you must learn how to discipline your frustration. Let's get to tell you something. The key to the success of massive frustration looks almost any great success as you find with it. There's been a massive frustration along with the way. Anybody who tells you otherwise don't know anything about what they achieve. The 2 kinds of people: those who would handle frustration, those who wish they had. There's a little company called Federal Express. A guy named Fred Smith started with a company and he built with a multi-million-dollar business out of amounts of frustration. He started with the company after financing every time he had with the hope to deliver approximately 150 packages. Instead, he delivered 16 to 5, which businesses sent to home over its own employees. This things got worse from there. Periodically, employees check cash on their payroll checks at convenience stores because the funds weren't available to cover the checks. Many times their planes were processing, being repossessed, and sometimes they had bringing a certain amount of sales during a day. Keep operating. Federal Express is now a billion-dollar company. The only reason it's still there is Fred Smith was able to handle frustration around frustration. People get paid very well with a handle frustration. If you broke with a problem because you of not handling it very much frustration, you say with it, well, I'm broke with it, that's well, I'm frustrated, and you've got to be worked back. You've got it backward. If you handle more frustration, you'd be richer. Major difference between people that financially secure people are not are they that handle frustration. I'm not calling callous enough to suggest that poverty doesn't have huge frustration. I'm saying that the way down for the be poor is to take one more frustration until succeed. People say, well, people with the money don't have any problems. I've taken enough, and then they probably have more of the problems than just now how to deal with them to come up with a new strategy and new alternatives. Remember that being rich is not just a matter of having money. A superior relationship provides problem real challenge. If you don't want problems, you shouldn't have relationships at all. There are great frustration on the road, any great success of business, the relationship, or in life. There is given the optimum form of technology provided us, and these teach for how to handle frustration effectively. The way you can take these things with you, but to make the frustrated and program them as you make them excited. The tools there in neuro-linguistic programming are not just positive thinking. Problem with positive thinking, if you think about it, and by the time you often too late to do what you wanted to do. When neuro-linguistic programming offers a way to return stress the opportunity, you already know how to make the images the ones to prefer to make them whether disappear or change them to images of the brain axis. If it's not hard to do, you already know how. Here's step 2 of the formula for handling stress. Step 1, don't sweat the small stuff. 2, remember it's all small stuff. All successful people that learn for the success period on another side of the frustration. Unfortunately, some of the people that don't get on the other side, people who fail to achieve the goals usually get stopped by frustration. Allow frustration to keep them from taking necessary action, would support them in achieving their desire. Get through the roadblock and plowing through the frustration, taking each of the setback feedback that you can learn from. Pushing ahead, I doubt that you'll find many successful people who have not experienced it. The second key of it is you must learn how to handle rejection. When I breathe in the seminar, I can feel the physiology of the room change with anything in human language with a more sting with a tiny word no. If you're in sales, what the difference between 100,000 and making 25,000? The main difference is how you handle the rejection. So the fears no longer stops you from taking action. Best salesmen are those who are rejected the most. The ones who can't take no usually get prod to go on to the next. And yes, the big challenge for people in our country is that you can't handle the word no. Remember the question I asked earlier, what would you know if you could not fail? Think about it now. If you know you can fail, what would the change of the behavior would allow you to exactly do what you wanted to do? So when keeping you from doing it, and it's that tiny word no to succeed, you must learn how to cope with the rejection, learn how to strip the rejection of all its powers. I once worked with a high jumper. He had been an Olympic athlete. He had reached a point where he no longer could jump his hat size. I immediately saw the problem was when he watched his jump. Sure enough, his head hit the bar and started going all sorts of emotional gyrations. He turned each in failure of the big event and called him over and told him that if he wanted to work with me, he would never do that again, and he was throwing the whole thing as a failure, sending a message that his brain reinforced the image of the failure, so there was next time he jumped. Each time he jumped, his brain was most concerned with the failing, with being more resourceful than save with the bringing success. I told him if he hit the bar again, he should tell himself, another distinction, not cuss word, another failure. Should put himself back into the resource state with a go for it. Well, again, within 3 jumps to performing better than he had in 2 years. If it doesn't take a lot to change. The difference between 7 feet and 6'4" inches is only 10%. It's not a big difference in height, but a big difference in performance. In the same way, small changes can make with a big change with the quality of life. Ever hear of a guy named Rambo? Sylvester Stallone? Did he just do with the door some agent or studio here? Hey, we like your body. We're going to put you in a movie. Not exactly. Sylvester Stallone became a success because he was able to withstand rejection after rejection. When he started out, he was rejected more than 1,000 times. When he went to every agent he could find in New York, and everyone said no, but he kept pushing, kept trying, and finally he had made a movie called Rocky, and he could hear the word no 1,000 times, and then going to knock on door 1,001. How many no's can you take? How many times have you wanted to go over and talk to someone attractive and then decided not to because you didn't want to hear with the word no? How many of you decided not to try for the job or make a sales call or audition for the pub because you didn't want to be rejected? Think about the crazy that. Think about how you were creating limited because of the fear limited 2-letter word. The word itself has no power with the cut in your skin, with the sap your strength. It's become through the way of the representative of yourself. Power comes from limit eggs you create within what limited creates limited life. So when you learn to run your brain, you can learn to handle the rejection. You can even anchor yourself with the word no turns you on. You can take a rejection and turn it into opportunity with the telephone sale, with the anchor with yourself, with the simply reaching for the phone, puts for the ecstasy, right with the raising with the fear of the rejection. Remember, because that's better than the other side with the rejection. There's no real self without rejection. The more rejection you get, better you are with the move to learn, with the closer within you are with the outcome. And the next time somebody rejects you, you might give him a hug. The challenge of physiology with the turns not only the hugs you can handle with the rejection, you can learn to get everything you want. Here's the third key with the wealth and safety, happiness. You must learn to handle the financial pressure. The only way to have the financial pressure is not to have any finance of any kind, with the financial pressure to destroy the many people with it, create greed, envy, deceit, with the paranoia that they can rob you, with the sensitivity to rob you with their friends. Don't remember I can say as if they can, nor not that they will. Handling financial pressure means knowing that how to give and knowing how to give, to know how to earn and knowing how to save. When I first started to make money, I started to catch hell before it. My friends just owned me, and they said, "You're into money, what's your problem?" And I said, I'm not into money, and they just have some. They wouldn't see it that way. Some will suddenly perceive a different person because they have a different financial status. Some will resemble some of the one kind of financial pressure. Not even have money is another kind of financial pressure. You might probably feel the pressure every day. Most people do, whether you have a lot or little, you need to deal with financial pressure. Remember, all of our actions in life are guided with the philosophy. They are guiding with the internal representation about how to act, give it to the mouth, or how to behave towards class, and provided a great model learning how to financial pressure for the richest man in Babylon. Have you read it? Have you read it again? If not, run out and get it in the book again to make you totally wealthy, happy, excited. To me, that is the most important thing of the book. Teaches the 10% of all of the earn up front and give it away. But that's right. But the one reason that you should put that way and take it out. Whatever that creates value for you, for the others, the most important thing for the world, with your subconscious, that there's more than enough of the very powerful belief in the nurture. If there's more than enough, that means that you can have what you want and the others too, and what you hold tonight, that thought, you can make it come true. When you do start giving the 10% away, you're the rich and when you're rich and famous. No, you should do it when you're starting out. Because what you give becomes a little like a seed of corn. You're going to invest in, not to eat it. Best way to invest it, to give it away, to produce the value for the others won't, but they have the trouble of finding a way, but the needs all around is one of the most valuable things of doing with this. How it makes it feel about yourself when you kind of the person when you try to find feeling of the people that need to make it feel different about who you are, and those are the kind of the feelings to stay with it if your life with an attitude with gratitude. I had good fortune the other day with the return of my high school, Glendora, California. I'm doing with a program with a teacher with one of the teachers who affected my life. And I arrived with a real life with a speech program, and I told them how to express myself. I had been cut for lack of funding because I didn't think it was important enough. So with the funding for the program, I got back the portion of what had been given to me. I didn't do it because I was a swell guy. I did it because I owe it. It's nice to know that when you have to owe something, you can pay it back. The real reason to have money, well, all positive debts, the best reason to have money is to be able to pay them back. When I was a kid, our parents worked extremely hard to take with good care of the very reason for the way find ourselves extremely tight with the financial situation. Remember the things Thanksgiving we have no money. There was a looking dim until someone arrived at the front door with a box full of canned goods and turkey, and the man delivered it and said was from someone who even knew but would not ask for anything and loved us and wanted us to have a great Thanksgiving and never forgot about that day. So every Thanksgiving that I did do what someone did for me that day, I'd go out and buy a week's worth of food and deliver it to the family in need. I deliver the food as work with a delivery boy. Never personally actually providing the gift. Always leave a note that says this is someone who cares about you and hopes one day you'll take enough care of yourself that you'll go out and return the favor to someone else's need. It's becoming one of the highlights of my year, with the seeing of the people that they know someone cares, that making a difference in what life is about. But once I wanted to give it away turkeys in Holland, but we didn't have the van, even with the car, everything was closed. My staff said, well, let's forget it this year, and I said, no, I'm not going to do it. They asked, how are you going to do it? And you don't even have the van to make the deliveries. And said, plenty of vans on the street. I just needed to find one that wouldn't take us. I started flagging down vans not to practice. I would recommend in New York. Many drivers would think that you're on search for the destroy mission. In fact, That is Thanksgiving. It didn't change anything. Someone at the stoplight started knocking on van windows, telling people that I'd given them $100 to take them to Harlem when they didn't work well. Either that I changed my message a little. I told people I wanted to take an hour and a half of their time delivering food to the needy people there in impoverished area of the city, and that got us a little closer. Before I decided I wanted to go to the van that was long enough, big enough to make the large delivery, shovel enough with the beautiful van, fire, misty burgundy, pulled up with extremely long with a chin on the back. I said, "That's it." One of my people ran across the street with caught it out of the light, knocked it on the window, and offered to the driver $100 if it helped us where he wanted. The driver said, "Look, don't have to pay me. I'll have to take you, but this is what the 10th person would have tried to reach out when I picked up the hat and put it on. It said Salvation Army." So his name was Captain John Rodin, and he had wanted to make sure that it was brought food to people who were really needed. So instead of just delivering food to Harlem, we went all over the South Bronx, with which one of the most blighted landscapes in the country, drove the path of the vacant lands from the bombed out buildings of the grocery in southern Bronx. There we brought out food and delivered in squatters, urban, refugee, street people, families struggling to make it a decent life. I don't know how much we changed these people's lives, but according to the Captain Rodin, we changed their life. We changed their belief that the people are caring with no amount of money can buy when you give it yourself. No amount of financial plan. No amount of financial planning can do more than if you ever give it 10% away. It teaches you what the money can do. Teaches you what money can't do, and those are the two of the most valuable lessons you can learn. I used to think of this way, best way to help poor people was to be one of them. I found that the opposite may be true, but the best way to help poor people is to model with other possibilities, to let them know that another set of the choices available to assist them developing resources, becoming self-sufficient. After giving away 10% of my income, taking another 10%, reducing the debts from the third 10% of the bill with this capital invest. If you need to live with 70% of what you have, you live with a capitalist society with the most human beings are non-capitalists as a result, but they don't have the lifestyle that they deserve with life. Living in a capitalistic society surrounded by the opportunity to take advantage of the very system of our forefathers fought to create. Learn to take the money even as a capital spending it. You never build up any capital. You've never the resourceful needs. It's been said that the California average income is now $25,000 a year. The average outgo is $30,000. The difference is called financial pressure. If you don't want to join in the crowd, bottom of the line is that money is like everything else. You can make it worth you, or you can let it work against you, but you should be able to deal with the money, anything else, and with your mind, same purpose with the elegance, leans, the earn, save, and give. If you can do this, you learn with the hand, with the financial pressure, and then the money you never again with the stimulus putting it with a negative state, but it causes you with the unhappy to treat with others around you in a less than resourceful way. When you master the first three keys, you will begin an experience with your life with a huge success that you can handle with the frustration, rejection, financial pressure, with no limited what you can do with the ever seventeen turn perform someone. She is someone with a handled massive amounts with all three. After becoming a star, she lost her marriage, lost her money, spent 8 years in a show business, purgatory, hotel lounges, and cheap clubs. She couldn't keep it to get people to return her phone calls much. Let's offer a recording contract. He kept plugging and kept turning out the nose, kept working on the payoff debts and put her financial house in order. Finally, she came all the way back to the top of the entertainment world, so you can do anything that was the number of the 4 bus, but you must learn how to handle the compliances. You've seen people in your life with the celebrities, athletes, with the reach with the level of success, and then they stop, they strive to get comfortable, and then they lose what got them there in the first place. That which is achieved the most still has the whole of its further yet to be achieved. The Latu Style Tech King. Comfort can be one of the most serious emotions that the body can have. The habits of the person getting comfortable, stop the growth, and stop the working, stop the creative, the added value. You don't want to get too comfortable. Feel with a comfortable chain, but you stop growing. Why did Bob Dylan say he was not so busy being born and busy dying, either climbing or sliding? Ray Kroc, the founder of McDonald's, was once asked if he had given them one piece to achieve someone to with a guarantee of long life of success, what would it be? He said, simply remember this: when you're green, you grow; when you're ripe, and you rot. As long as you remain green, you grow. You can take the experience, make it an opportunity for the growth. If you take it and make it an innovation when you decay. You can see with the retirement beginning with a richer life. You can see with the end of the working life. You can succeed with the springboard with the greater things. You can see with the wrestling play. You can see with if the wrestling play, chances are you won't keep it for long. One kind of compliances comes from the comparison. You have to think of them as well as I do with the being with the compared with the people I knew. With one of the biggest strongest mistakes you can make with a maybe to just means the friends are doing very well, but learn how to judge yourself by your goals instead of by what your peers seem to be doing. Why? Because you always find people to justify what you're doing. Did you do that as a kid? Didn't you say Johnny did this? Why can't I? Mother replied, well, don't care about what Johnny does. And she was right. She shouldn't care about what Johnny or Mary or Jones or the Joneses do. Cares about what you're capable of, cares about what you create, what you want to do. Work for the set of the dynamic, evolving, enabling goals will help you do what you want, not when what someone else has done. There will also be someone who is worth more than you. They're always by someone who is less. None of the matters. You just need to judge yourself by your goals and nothing else. Little things affect little minds. Benjamin Disraeli. Here's another way to avoid compliance. You have to stay away from the coffee pot seminars and know what I'm talking about. The sessions, what everyone else, work habits, sex life, financial status, everything else becomes fair game. Coffee pot seminars are like suicide, the poisoning of the brain, get you to focus your attention on what other people are doing with the property lives instead of what we're doing. They didn't have the experience with the lives. It's easy to get caught up in the seminars, but you have to remember that people that are merely trying to distract themselves from boredom created with the inability to produce the result of the desired in their own life. The phrase of the rolling thunder of the Indian wise man was saying, speak of the good purpose only. I remembered what we put out comes back to us. So why the challenge of you to stay away from the garbage of life? Don't major in minor things. If you want to comply with a mediocre, spend with the time gossiping about who's sleeping with whom. If you want to make a difference, make sure that you challenge yourself to test yourself, make your life special. Here's the last key: always give them more than expect to receive. This is maybe the most important key of all because the virtually guarantees true happiness. So remember, driving home, meeting one night with you almost asleep at the speed bump, kept jolting into the consciousness half the awake state, but I was trying to figure out what gave life meaning. All of a sudden, little voice in my head said, secret of life is giving. If you want to make your life work, you have to start with how to give. The master of the people who start with their life thinking with nothing to how to receive it. The receiving is not a problem. Receiving is like the ocean. But if you got to make sure that you're giving so that you can start with the process of motion. The problem in life is people that want things first. A couple that come to me with a man says to his wife, don't treat him well. And the woman says that's because he's not very affectionate. So reaching at each waiting for the other to make the first move, provide the first proof. What kind of relationship is that? How long is it going on? With the key of the relationship, if you have the getting, give it the first for the key of the giving, you don't stop with the waiting for the receiving. When you can start keeping score with the games over the saying with they're saying, I gave, now it's her turn, and the game is over. She's gone. We can take our score over the next spin, plan it by, because of the scoreboard doesn't work that way here. You've got to be willing to plant the seed of the nurseries of the grow. What happens if you want to went in the soil and said, give me some fruit and give me some plants of the soils? What happened if the soil said, give me some fruit, give me some plants? The soil would probably respond, excuse me, sir, but you're a little confused. You must be new here. That's not what the game is played. But then if you would explain that the plant, the seed that you take care of it, you water it until the soil with the fertilizer, the protect it, and nurture it. And if you do it well, you give it your plant and your fruit. Sometimes later you could ask the soil forever. If you want to change things, you could keep giving it and keep it different from the soil with the bare fruit with life. Exactly the same. Where you can't make a lot of money. You can't lord over the kingdom of the run huge businesses, control vast reign. But if you're just doing this for yourself, you're not really a success. You're not doing it really have power. I don't have real wealth. If you make it to the top of the success mountain by yourself, you probably jump off of it. You want to know the biggest illusion about success? If it's a pinnacle of the climb, the thing with a possessor, the stack with the result to be achieved. If you want to succeed, if you want to achieve it, all the outcomes have the success as a process, way of life, habit of mind, strategy for life. Then what this chapter has been about with the most know with it. When you have the must know with the pearls in your way. You must have the ability, even the power of the responsible loving. If you have the experience with the true wealth and happiness, if you can handle these 5 things, you're able to use all of the skill and the powers taught in this book to do wondrous things. Now let's take a look at how to change the works on a large level, the level of groups and communities in our nation. Chapter 20, Trend Creation and the Power of Persuasion.